Hello everyone. I thought I'd share this video to talk about my experience of first time taking part in a fist sparring competition. I have to say this experience was actually an interesting one in the fact that it was I didn't know how much I had to prepare for it because I didn't know who I was going to face. And when I got on and I didn't know what to do in terms of preparing for, protection and guard and everything else. I just didn't know. And I was up against a man and I got hit quite badly here, despite having a head protection. And yeah, I actually experienced shock. And shock was the symptoms were like clammy skin, my heart was palpitating, shortness of breath. I mean, I literally thought I was going to die. I mean, it was only like 2 minutes, but the 2 minute of just being hit and not knowing what to do actually brought up about quite a lot of anxiety actually. And me having had, anxiety in the past, doing these fights actually makes it worse. And the feeling of panic attack is actually quite scary because I thought I just couldn't stop like ventilating. I was hyperventilating and I just couldn't control my breath. And I thought I was going to just pass out. And it was quite scary actually. But it's been about 48 hours since I had the incident. And there were some people that were really helpful. I guess probably people didn't know what to do, and it was quite a scary experience actually going through that. And it was the after effects actually that's probably what I'm going to talk about more in this video. So for those who may have experienced similar sort of panic attacks, and how to get over it, and to avoid that becoming worse, because if it's not being managed properly, it can turn into more severe forms of mental health like PTSD, or even just, going mentally crazy. And the fact that I don't have any health insurance in here, I have to really be careful of how I look after myself. So the first thing was actually just kind of let it settle actually and allow myself to go through that experience. And just in the midst of everything, just kind of talk to people that to bring you into the present moment. For me, I had a couple of people that I could able to talk to, and they were quite helpful in engaging with me in my conversations. But I had to sort of keep my focused sort of bit more onto like what's happening. So I was looking at the match itself, and just keep my mind focused on something rather than letting my head run all over the place. Because when I'm able to kind of bring myself into the present, it helps me to process everything. Now, I got hit in the head and I had like a traumatic head shock, and it was not easy to it was not easy to keep focus on a conversation as such, because there were some minor head concussions. And yeah, it was quite scary actually. But talking to people to bring myself into the present moment helped. An afterward event, rather than avoid spending time alone, I think that I like to spend a lot of time by myself, but when I was going through shock and the sort of aftermath of all the adrenaline being pumped through my body and like the wearing off stage, that is the pinnacle point where, sort of suppressed thoughts might come up. And I I was very lucky to have my cousin who I can go to get more support. And actually, she was moving that day, so I was actually having something to do as well. So rather than just talking, doing something productive and helpful helps to bring myself back into myself a little bit more. So that's number two. Talk to someone that you trust, and find something productive to do to keep your mind sort of busy, like just kind of keep it in logical steps. So rather than worrying about a lot of things, doing something that's kind of, have, like, I don't know, pack boxes or something, I don't know, just something that helps you to stay focused on the present moment. That helps. And I remember I was going home on the train after I finished her pack. Again, that time of being alone can be quite scary, and this is where, like, suppressed thoughts will creep in. So if you have experienced previous mental health issues like I have, that's anxiety and depression, those suppressed thoughts, if it wasn't dealt with properly, would likely to have come back up or resurfaced. So it is during moments of being alone that it's really pinnacle. So I just had my music on, just listen to, like, music I can dance to, I can sing to. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter how silly you look. The fact that just being within yourself, just do some movement, that helps again get the blood flowing back into the body, as opposed to stuck. Because one thing about shock is that you don't get enough blood into the brain, so it's important to keep moving and to keep your brain active. And I just sang and danced, and that helped. And then going home to sleep was actually very, very hard, because my mind was still sort of forced. I was trying to force myself to be normal, but trying to force myself to be a certain way was actually counterproductive. So I had to sit with my thoughts overnight, and I didn't get good night's sleep, I have to say, to be honest. But I accepted that. So when you accept your situation and just, okay, so this is the time for me just to let everything settle, accept it, and let it process, it will eventually get better. So I woke up the next day and I was going to go for a run, but that probably wouldn't have helped. My body was completely sore from the injuries of being thrown and all over the place. So my body was a bit bits and pieces, but I decided to go for a swim. And I think swimming actually helped, because swimming for me was actually getting the oxygen back into my body, and having something to be aware of when I'm doing my strokes. That really helped. And I just sat in a sauna, had a jacuzzi, and I went for a massage. And I absolutely vouch for having a massage for recovery of any time your body's in shock, because it's a beautiful homeostasis, um, uh, a reaction, physiological effect in your body. And massage is just amazing. I love it. So yeah, I think so having a massage. And actually the last thing I did, I actually gave a massage to one of my family members as well. So that give and receive, when you able to build more love into yourself, you give yourself that love and attention and energy to help it heal, rather than doing destructive things like, I don't know, mind numbing things like gambling, or drinking, drugs, pornography sometimes, to get that instant gratification, just to kind of forget about it. So yeah, these are like my healthy ways of bring myself back into balance and reevaluate where I am and my goals, and actually feeling relief to let something go. And I will talk about another video about getting over an emotional abusive relationship. Okay.